Ever wondered how to recreate the layers of a natural tooth? Not just the color, but the depth, the translucency, the light. In this video, we are breaking down the histologic layering technique that makes your class 4 restorations indistinguishable from nature. So let's get started. The first and the foremost step is to give a bevel which improves marginal seal and helps mask the fracture line by blending the restoration more seamlessly. If you are a beginner, you can use a scale to measure 2 to 3 millimeters, which is the minimum width required for a bevel to remove any guesswork. Few things to remember while giving a bevel. The bevel should be about 2 to 3 millimeters in width. You need to give a 45-degree bevel. We can use a round end tapered diamond burrs for the same. What you saw on the screen is a starburst bevel, which creates an irregular bevel on the enamel margin for improved aesthetics and retention. A starburst bevel has different lengths and volumes which prevent the concentration of light and allows dissipation of the same in different directions, eventually helping to mask the fracture line seamlessly. Last, we can use a finishing disc to smooth out all the sharp line angles on the teeth and start with a bonding process by selectively etching the enamel. After rinsing with water, you can air dry it with a 3-way syringe. Make sure not to desiccate the tooth entirely and start applying your dental adhesive. In this case, we are using a 7th generation bond which you apply and scrub for about 20 seconds, let the solvent evaporate and then cure. Since we are using an indirect direct technique, we would now load our first enamel layer onto the putty index and then place it in the position and cure it. If you are not sure about the technique, please have a look at the part 1 and part 2 of this masterclass and then continue this video for maximum understanding. We now start adapting the first layer, which should generally be an enamel layer, very well, making sure not to extend over the incisal edge so that it forms a proper palatal scaffold and there is place to add more effects on the incisal edge to create the necessary halo and translucency. Once done, we seat the index in place and use an applicator tip to make sure material is adapting well with the natural tooth and cure it. If the step is done well, you will see a beautiful first layer, very thin and almost translucent, on which we will build our facial layers. The simplest way of understanding the layering is to replicate the nature. Since in a central incisor, the palatal most layer is an enamel, you add enamel layer there, then comes the dentine. So we add the dentine layer as the next layer and then top it up with other enamel layers. The aim of this dentine layer is to mask the fracture line, so the clinical tip here is the dentine layer should cover at least half the bevel, and incisally, based on the incisal translucency required as per the adjacent tooth, we shall decide how much to extend it. If you wish to create dentinal inclusions, it's better to do it at this stage while you're still adding the dentine layer. Once done, we can then move on to applying a white tint to create the incisal halo, over which we would be adding the enamel layer to have a lifelike appearance. You can use a sharp instrument as you see on the screen, or a very sharp explorer for the same, or you can even use like a 10 or a 15 number K file for the same purpose. After creating the halo, we then move on to create incisal translucency using the blue tints. We can take it on a very fine brush and apply it just above the halo line and over the proximal incisal angles and then cure it. Based on the shade of the tooth, we can now top it up with an effect enamel like A1, A2 or A3 or something like that, or if the tooth has a lot of characterizations which we want to enhance, then we can even use a more translucent type of shades directly over the dentine, which could then accentuate the halo, the translucency or any hypoplastic spots that you would create with the same white tint. You need to be very objective in selecting this top layer because you wouldn't have a lot of space. So be very mindful when you're selecting this because you generally have to wrap it up in one layer. So either select an effect enamel or a translucent enamel and finish it off with the final blend using either a flat palette brush dipped in unfilled resin and blend the composite entirely with the tooth, or you can use a flat delicate instrument as you see on the screen to make the necessary blendings. It's nice to use a mirror to visualize the tooth from all directions before giving it a final cure, helping you to create almost its final form in your layering rather than by subtracting during finishing. Take maximum time at this stage to create that perfect blend between the composite and the tooth, and once satisfied, go ahead and give it a cure. The next step is to remove the oxygen inhibition layer using KY jelly and then giving it a full cure both facially and palatally. In our next video, we would be covering all the steps for finishing and polishing our class 4s to achieve a beautiful and long-lasting sheen. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who can benefit from it, and subscribe to our channel for more such step-by-step tutorials helping you up your dental game. Until then, signing off, this is your Dentrovert, Dr. Mayank Doshi.